A Florida man hiding in an attic sparks a firefight with law enforcement, killing 2 officers and wounding a deputy U.S. Marshal. Authorities went to the home in St. Petersburg, Florida, trying to serve an arrest warrant. Police say more than 100 rounds were fired during the shootout. The suspect remains barricaded inside the house. At one point, a vehicle was used to punch a hole in a wall to get one of the officers out. A woman inside the house at the time is safe and with officers. Police say the man was wanted on aggravated battery charges. Lee Powell, The Associated Press.
A little bit before 7 o'clock this morning, we were assisting the U.S. Marshal Service in serving a search warrant on the individual that we believe resides at this house. There was a woman in the house with him. She informed us at the time that the suspect was there, that he was in the attic of the house. There was an effort made by the officers to extract him from the attic. There was an exchange of gunfire with the suspect. During that exchange, we had 2 St. Pete officers wounded, and we had a U.S. Marshal wounded. All of them have been evacuated from the scene and are currently at Bayfront Medical Center. Chief Harmon is going to go ahead and proceed to the hospital in the next few minutes, and he will give a briefing on the status of the officers there. Okay. That's really all the information I can give you right now. I know there's a lot of rumors going around at this point. All we're going to say at this point is the officers were transported, the St. Pete officers were transported to the hospital in critical condition. That's where they are at this point, and we'll have some additional information for you at about 11 o'clock there at the hospital.
The status of the gunman in the house?
At this point, we don't know what his status is. After the extraction of the last officer, we have not had any communications with him. As you know, our attack officers did fire rounds into the house in order to extract the officer. We don't know if the gunman was wounded or not. We don't know if he's just laying in wait. We're working very methodically at this point to try to ascertain his status, and as soon as we can do that, we'll give you additional information on
Something like that.
Yeah, she was crying. She had tears coming down her face. She was bright red.
The Orange County Sheriff's Office demonstrated what it's like to be tased. They say they can tase children if they pose a threat, but it also depends on their size.
The policy reads that, yes, you can tase a student if they are aggressive and also if they're fighting the officer.
I'm not doing anything. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not doing anything. I'm sorry. Ah! Don't fight me! Don't fight me! Don't fight me!
Standing out in the crowd in a red blazer, black skirt, and heels, attorney Elizabeth Ritter received some media coverage 3 years ago at a free trade protest when she was shot with rubber bullets in the back and a leg. Her beef wasn't with the trade summit, but with a strong police presence. Minutes later, she took another rubber bullet on her forehead as she crouched behind her homemade sign that read, "Fear totalitarianism."
You okay?
Don't get around me. Let them see it. Hit her in the face.
Now her case is back in the news because of this.
The good news about being able to watch you guys live on TV is that lady with the red dress.
A police video shot after the shooting incident, just released following a review of excessive force complaints at the protest.
I don't know who got her, but when it went through the sun, it hit her smack dab in the middle of the head.
I'm getting on my camera for a second. I'm getting on my camera.
Back up, please. Back up,
Don't
please.
touch my camera.
Some very chilling video played out in court today showing the final moments of a young man's life in Pensacola. The inquest into the death of Victor Steen has begun. Our Christina Leavenworth was in court all day today. She joins us live from the scene of the accident via Skype. Christina?
Good evening, Lenny. This is where 17-year-old Victor Steen was run over and killed by a police cruiser last October. Now stuffed animals like this one are here in his memory. But it happened here in this parking lot that night.
Stop the fight now!
The whole thing was caught on dash cam video. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement says Officer Gerald Ard was on patrol and noticed Steen on a bicycle. Police say Ard tried to stop Steen because he seemed suspicious.
Stop the bike!
When Steen wouldn't stop, Ard continued to chase him, and then the officer used his taser.
Off the bike!
Moments later, Steen falls, and the police cruiser hits him, something we will not show.
211 headquarters. I need Supervisor EMS now.
The video, I think, is the star witness in this inquest. You know, it tells exactly what happened that night.
The judge questioned witnesses about the light in the area and whether Steen fell off the bike or if he placed it down. All this will help him decide whether the officer should face criminal charges.
New tonight, a family is suing after Orange County deputies fired more than 100 shots to stop just one suspect. It all happened back in January. Tory Breedlove was shot and killed after deputies say he was trying to escape from them while at the Alta Westgate Apartments. Breedlove's family says deputies abused their power and the policy needs to be changed. They say Tory Breedlove never should have been killed. Fox 35's Tracy Jason with the latest on that.
When you look at these pictures of 27-year-old Tory Breedlove's car, you can see why he did not survive. The Orange County Auto Trap Unit caught up with Breedlove here at the Alta Westgate Apartments the night of January 5th. They say to arrest him for stealing a car. Breedlove has a history of thefts, but no violent crimes. But deputies say that night he used his vehicle to ram them as he tried to escape, and they had no choice but to shoot.
None of us deserve to be shot at over 100 times, regardless of what the crime. That's why we have a judicial system.
And that's why this big sister has hired attorney Natalie Jackson to sue the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Jackson says the information doesn't quite add up in her opinion.
This is the advantage that FDLE has on us, the state attorney and the sheriff's office. We don't know what happened. We don't have the officer's statement. We have part of the story. We know from residents what happened, and most of them were running for their lives.
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Sheriff's Office are conducting their own investigations, so statements from officers haven't been released. But Jackson says these photos taken of the car Breedlove was driving show an excessive amount of bullet holes, but not the bumper damage you'd expect on a car that had been, quote, ramming patrol cars. That's the explanation for Breedlove's injuries given on this death certificate.
And the policy issue that needs to be addressed is whether or not you should use deadly force at all in a residential neighborhood, especially against an unarmed suspect.
In Florida, hundreds of students rallied at the University of Florida Tuesday over the shooting of an African graduate student by campus police. The student, Kofi Adu Brempong, has been hospitalized in critical condition after he was shot in the face by an officer in a raid on his home earlier this month. Police say they were called to the home after neighbors reported the student to be visibly distraught. According to police, Adu Brempong tried to attack officers with a knife and a metal rod, but supporters and family members have rejected the allegations and say the rod was actually a walking cane used by Abu Brempong as a result of a childhood bout with polio.
Imagine what it must have been like in Florida when an armed robbery suspect commandeered a car with a mom and her 2 children inside. The police fired more than 40 shots at the car, killing the suspect, but seriously injuring a 2-year-old boy. It happened in Jacksonville, Florida, and NBC's Tan Trung is there tonight.
It was a bank robbery turned carjacking that ended in a hail of police gunfire. It began Friday afternoon when sheriff's officers say a man armed with a .357 Magnum walked into this Wachovia bank and robbed it. Vic Davenport witnessed the frantic scene.
I pulled up, I was walking up to the ATM, and a bunch of people come running out of the bank, screaming, "He's got a gun, he's robbing the bank."
After escaping the bank with an undetermined amount of cash, the suspect took off into this wooded area and eventually made his way into the parking lot of a Wendy's just down the street here. The sheriff says that's when the suspect turned his attention and his gun to a four-door sedan near the pickup window. Inside that car sat 35-year-old Joanne Cooper and her 2-year-old son Daniel Crichton and her 7-year-old stepdaughter Alexis.
At this point, the pursuing officer heard the suspect yell, "I'm going to kill you."
Unclear if the gunman was threatening the driver or the police.
The gunman then overpowered the female driver, forcing her into the passenger seat.
As the suspect tried to drive away, 5 officers opened fire, unleashing 42 rounds. The suspect was killed, but the 2-year-old in the car was also hit and critically wounded. His mother was shot in the foot. Cell phone video shows officers removing one of the children from the car. The boy's father questions whether the shooting was reckless, given that children were in the back seat.
Like a professionalism. It really looks on the surface like a wildlife show.
Sheriff's policy says officers may fire at moving vehicles only as a last resort or if a life is threatened. The matter is now under investigation. Tan Trung, NBC News, Jacksonville, Florida.
2-year-old Florida boy remains in critical condition this morning after being caught in the middle of a police shootout. CBS News correspondent Kelly Colbiella has the story.
The shooting played out near a busy Jacksonville strip mall Friday afternoon. An innocent mother and child became collateral damage when police went after a bank robber.
And I literally saw the police officer run up to the guy shooting him.
The robber, wearing a ski mask, attacked 2 bank tellers, then ran to a nearby Wendy's restaurant and jumped into a car in the drive-thru. But what police did not know was that this was not a getaway car. 35-year-old Joanne Cooper and her 2 children were inside with the suspect.
They didn't say get out of the car. They immediately started to fire as if the car was a part of the whole robbery thing.
The suspect yelled, "I'm going to kill you." The officer didn't know if he was referring to him or to the woman behind the wheel of the car. The officer fired his shotgun.
5 officers fired 42 times. The suspect was killed without firing a single shot. Police also hit the mother in the foot, and her 2-year-old son was shot twice, in the chest and in the arm.
When they approached that car and discovered those children in the back and the woman who was shot in the foot, I can tell you it was very difficult for all the officers out there.
When it went through the sun, it hit her smack dab in the middle of the head.
New tonight, an elderly World War II vet is in the hospital with a broken neck, and witnesses are blaming it on a fight with an Orlando police officer.
That fight happened late last night in the 1800 block of North Orange Avenue. Fox 35 spoke to witnesses who saw it all happen.
Next thing I know, he put both hands on the cop's shoulder, not in an aggressive manner. The cop picked him up, flipped him in the air, and dropped him on his head.
Melissa DePani is live in Orlando with more. Melissa, this was all over the man's car being towed, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. This veteran is 84-year-old Daniel Daly. He was parked here in this parking lot on North Orange Avenue, just across the street from the Caboose Bar, which is where he was hanging out, and he saw his car being towed. He came outside and tried to stop it, and that is when things got tense. Now, Orlando police say that Daly was intoxicated and kept touching the officer. Then they say that Daly tried to punch the officer. But witnesses tell us that witnesses told Daly's son that the 84-year-old only put his hands on the officer's shoulder. Now, police say that the officer was defending himself and brought that 84-year-old to the ground. Seeing that he was injured, an ambulance was called to rush Daly to the hospital. Daly's son says that his father's injuries are substantial.
He's in the neurocritical care unit at Florida Hospital, and that his C1 vertebrae has been dislocated, I believe is the term they used. I was also told that 9 out of 10 people that have this injury do not walk away from the impact.
Now, Orlando police say that Daly is being charged with battery on a law enforcement officer, which is a felony. Greg Daly says that his dad will undergo surgery tomorrow for his injuries that he sustained in this incident. Live in Orlando, Melissa DePani, Fox 35 News at 10.
I guess what I want folks to know is that when you put on a badge, and I'm holding things in my hand that belong to the officers that were handed to me by various officers at the scene, a badge, a ring, a wedding ring, 2 bracelets that were on one of the officers' arms, and I kind of got these at the scene as people were handing them to me. And I'm having a hard time letting go of them. These gentlemen I have known for their entire career, since they've been with the police department, and I consider them friends, and I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss them. It's a very hard day for the police department. It's a very hard day for this community. I do appreciate the outpouring of support we've received from our community. As I pulled up, and it's been a very hectic day, through the breezeway in the main police department, there's been flowers, there's been cards, there's been well wishes, and every part of our community is pitching in.
It's not about justice, it's not about agenda, it's not about mobilizing people, it's about dialing for corporate dollars. These 2 parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.
The United States of America is a terrorist base of operations. The United States of America is a friend to their evil plans. We are barbaric criminals joined in this operation by our staunch friend, Great Britain. The United States of America is an enemy to the starving and suffering men and women and children of Afghanistan. This military action is a part of our campaign against 1 billion world